Hello friend, my name is Asindra and today I will be continuing playing for you The Sad Story of Emmeline Burns by Ebi-Hime. Now last time we found out that Emmeline was in lesbians with Cornelia and her dad came back and was acting very downtrodden, and then Emmeline and Cornelia got into a minor tiff, and it is being resolved by tickling, which might end in bloodshed. Emmy, stop! Get off of me! Cornelia implored breathlessly, choking on the words from beneath her pursed lips, but the indomitable Lady Emmeline remained unmoved. No, I will not. Not until you recant what you said. That you are like Aubrey? Indeed. Admit it to be nothing more than a lie, and I may spare your life. No, never. I stand by my word. Then I will stand by my actions. I will not stop until you surrender, Nellie, and I warn you, I can be very persuasive when I want to be. And her eyes hardening like the steel of a sword blade, Emmeline dipped her head and began to press kisses against Cornelia's neck. Cornelia's dress had slipped down her shoulders, and there was a good deal of pale pink skin on show, more than would have been deemed socially acceptable. Ah, you rogue! You would attack a helpless young girl? Only because this helpless young girl is attempting to defile my honor. So you would seek to defile me? Well, I wonder. Cornelia squealed as though she had been doused in water and redoubled her efforts to escape, but it was all in vain. Both giggling, the two girls continued to bicker playfully, even as the warmth of the sun began to dissipate and an autumnal chill set into the air. At that moment, even as the day drew close to a close, the two girls may truly have believed, with their rumpled clothes and disorderly hair and flustered cheeks, that this could last forever. Emily Burns was dreaming, though she was not sure of what entirely. Her dreams were mostly comprised of vague shapes and distorted sounds, as though she were viewing her own fantasy lands from behind frozen glass or through a fine film of water. Sometimes, however, she dreamed of Cornelia. She always knew when she dreamt of Cornelia, though she rarely remembered the details of her dreams, because when she awoke it was with a silly smile on her face and a soft flush across her cheeks and nose. That was how she realized she was in love. She was always thinking of Cornelia, even during the rare occasions when Cornelia was not beside her. Though Emmeline was only 14 and did not fully understand love, she did not need to. Why trouble herself over the intricacies of the four-lettered word when she could, instead, be doing things that made her happy? Those things being chiefly talking to Cornelia, braiding her hair, making her blush, and kissing her lips, her cheeks, her eyelids. Emmeline was not particularly picky. On this particular night, however, Emmeline did not wake to find sunlight streaming in through her window, half-formed remembrance of her love flitting through her mind. She did not awake during the morning at all. It must have been late at night, because it was pitch black in her bedroom, and she could not hear the birds. Earlier than 5, then, she assumed, for she had no way of knowing if this was correct or not. It was so dark in her room she could not see the clock that hung on her wall, though she could hear it ticking. The first point she was aware of, other than the oppressive darkness, was that it was cold. The chill of winter was well and truly setting in, especially during the night, and she could no longer sleep with bare arms and a light coverlet, as she had done before. Her summer sleepwear had been packed away at the back of her wardrobe, and the maids now set her winter nightgowns on her bed before she went to sleep, complete with puffed sleeves and high collars. The second thing Emmeline noticed, as her eyes slowly grew accustomed to the dark, was that she was not alone. There was somebody else in the room with her. It was none other than her father, Philip. Emmeline stared at her father with big eyes. He looked back at her, and Emmeline could tell, despite the dark, his countenance was just as surprised, if not more than was her own. Had his face always looked so lined, his mouth so drawn? Perhaps it was the shadows playing tricks on her eyes, but he looked far older than his 44 years. Emmeline swallowed. All of a sudden, her throat felt dry. "Father, is something wrong?"
Nothing's wrong, Emmy. Nothing at all." But he did not look at her face, and he stuttered when he spoke.
Why did he sound so frightened? Had something bad happened? Emmeline could not think of any other reason why he would be in her room at such an hour, looking so very tired. No, tired did not begin to describe it. He looked haggard, as though on the brink of death, and his hands would not stop shaking, even when he clenched them into fists. Emmeline sat up in bed, the covers falling about her body like a funeral shroud, and looked at her father with concern. "It isn't Mother, is it? Is she sick?" Your mother?" Once more Philip's voice faltered. He winced, as though assailed by a sudden unpleasant memory, and turned his head away. "Your mother is fine, Emmy. She should be sleeping now." "Oh." A pause. "And why are you not asleep, Father? Could you not?" "No, there's something I have to do." "At this hour?" "Yes, it is of utmost importance. I don't imagine you would understand, though." Emmeline flinched. Her father's voice was strangely hard, despite the nervous stammer, and she was not used to him talking to her in such a way. Maybe other girls' fathers spoke in such terse, clipped terms. Cornelia's father sometimes did, when Beatrice wasn't there to chastise him, but not her father, not Philip Burns. There was no warmth in his voice, no tenderness. It was almost as though he were speaking to a stranger rather than his dear daughter, his priceless jewel, his lovely little Emmeline. "I may not understand what it is you wish to do, Father, but I am sure I could help." "No, you cannot help. Nobody can." "But—" "I appreciate the offer, Emmy, but it is far too late." Her father swallowed. Emmeline could hear it. It sounded painful, as though he were attempting to choke down a lead bullet or a piece of steel shrapnel. I do not understand. If you do not believe that I can help you, why did you come to my room at such an hour? What is it you wish to discuss with me, Father?" Oh, God." Philip's shoulders shook. It sounded like he was trying to stem a flow of oncoming tears, though he was not entirely successful. He bit down on his lower lip, but moisture still sparkled in the corner of his eyes, threatening to spill down his cheeks like April rain. "I think he killed her mom, is about to kill her, and will be killing himself, because the stock market did not go well for him. I think that's what's going to happen." If Grandmother Patience were here, she surely would have mocked him. She always had done when Philip was a child. Perhaps that was why Philip never visited Grandmother Patience. She made him feel like a young boy again, small, stupid, and utterly insignificant. That was why Philip had gone into baking, though he was not suited for such a cutthroat industry. He didn't have the knack for it, never had none. Grandmother Patience had said as much, but he was determined to prove her wrong. He wanted, for once in his life, to make her proud. And look what that had cost him. His wealth, his reputation, and now, worst of all, his family too. But there was no going back now. He had already come too far. It was bad luck that Emmeline had woken up when she had. The girl had always been a light sleeper. But he could not abandon his plans now, half finished. That would have been even crueler. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Father, are you all right? What's wrong?" "Emmeline, my dear Emmy, I am so sorry. I am so, so sorry." And with that, the tears finally began to escape from Philip's eyes, one after the other. They trickled down his cheeks slowly, somberly, like a funeral procession, icy cold against his pale skin. "I tried to be a good father, Emmy. I really did try. I wanted to be kind. I wanted to be fair. I had no intention of treating you like my parents treated me, but I was incapable of doing it. In the end, it all went wrong. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I was succeeding, and for a few moments, maybe it was. Now I realize that I was foolish. That was a foolish fantasy dream by a foolish man. My mother was right. I should have been drowned when I was younger. It would have saved you all so much trouble. It would have made everything so much easier." "Father?" Emmeline got to her feet, her bare toes curling against the wooden floor, and took a few steps towards her father. Her nightgown fluttered about her thighs as she walked, her hair curling about her face. "Are you not feeling well? We can summon the physician if you would like, if only you would sit down. Why, look how much you are trembling." No. Philip shook his head mechanically, back and forth like a tin soldier, his words spoken in an almost frenzied fervor. The physician cannot help now. Nothing can help. We're done for, Emily. We're done for, Emmeline. You and I, and your mother too. This is it. This is the end. The end of what exactly? Our money is all gone, Emmeline. I made a terrible mistake, and now everything is gone. The bubble burst, and we lost it all. Every single thing. Emmeline stared at her father, her lips pursed like those of the fish in the Linton's pond. She did not know what to do, what to say. What could she say? She was only 14 years old, and she had always been told by her mother that women had no place in the world of business, that they could not understand facts and figures and tables of numbers. Beatrice Linton was the exception rather than the rule. Beatrice Linton could do anything. She probably could have wrestled a bear to death with her own 2 hands if need be, but Emmeline could not. She was only a young girl standing in her bedroom in her winter nightgown, shivering like a leaf, and she did not know what to do. What could she do? She did not need to ponder this for much longer, however. "I am so sorry, Emmy. I am so sorry. I let you down. And now this is the only thing I can do to make amends." "Father, what are you—" But Emmeline was not able to finish her question. That is because, at that moment, Philip Burns closed the distance between them and held his hand around his daughter's throat. His fingers dug into her skin as hard as a child might grasp a favorite toy, and Emmeline could not breathe. First it was the shock that drew the air out of her lungs, but then it was the pressure about her throat choking her. She could hardly believe it. How could her father, who had never raised a hand to her in her life, who had never so much as raised his voice, even contemplate carrying out such a hideous action? But he was. He was really going to kill her. Emmeline felt herself grow faint. She wondered idly if dark purple bruises would be left around her throat when Philip let go, a garish ring about her neck like a fairy circle made of mushrooms. Her head swam, her legs gave way beneath her, and she fell backwards onto her bed. Still, Philip's fingers did not move. They remained upon her throat, fixated with the gruesome task they had been charged with. It was almost as though Philip Burns had split in two. One half remained focused on the murder of his dear daughter, his beloved Emmy, while the other, appalled by his actions, looked away with self-loathing and disgust. Maybe he should have poisoned her nightly mug of hot cocoa instead. Then he wouldn't have to bear witness to the look on her face as the life was slowly choked out of her tiny body. "I'm so sorry, Emily. I'm so sorry." And he was, too. His cheeks were wet with tears, and more tears kept falling. Some of them splashed against Emmeline's cheeks, but this offering of remorse made little difference to them, to the situation at hand. Emmeline was still dying. She had been dying for around 2 minutes now, though it felt far longer, and her heart was already beginning to stammer inside her chest. I'm doing it for you, Emmy. It's for the greater good, I promise. I cannot stand the thought of my little girl to go to the workhouse. I just couldn't. But Philip did not know what else to say. He doubted it would have made much of a difference. Emmeline stared blankly up at the ceiling, her eyes a vast sea of white, her mouth hanging open. Her arms and legs were limp, and though her body was warm, it did not move. It could not. Philip removed his hands from Emmeline's throat, his whole body trembling. Emmeline did not stir. Her eyes remained open, unfixed, misty with death. "Emmy, oh my Emmy, my little Emmy." And with a choked sob, Philip pulled his dear little girl, who was now a very dead little girl, into his arms and wept. After that, Philip Burns killed himself. He set the house ablaze and then slit his throat with a knife. Wow. Torching the house may seem like something of a waste, but if he had not, he would not have been buried with his wife and child. He had to make it look like an accident somehow. Of course, Emmeline was not there to witness that, but she found out within due course. And that is the end of the sad story of Emmeline Burns. I open and close my mouth, but no sound comes out. I don't know what to say. I had already suspected it, vague speculations about being an internet celebrity aside, but I have no doubts left in my mind after hearing Emily's story. This girl is no Emily. I knew she was no Emily from the moment she introduced herself. Now I know who she really is. Emmeline holds one hand to her throat, rubbing it gently as though nursing a cold. I wish he had not choked me. I imagine he did it because he thought it would be less violent than stabbing me, but it took so long to die. 3 whole minutes. Worst of all, I could still think during that time. I could grieve. I could suffer. It gave me enough time to form regrets, and maybe that is why I could not die properly. Emmeline sighs, resting a hand against the top of her own gravestone. Unlike the ghosts in films, her hand doesn't pass through it. Instead, her fingers make contact, firm and solid, and I even see her shiver when the coldness of the stone permeates her pale skin. Maybe Grandmother Patience was right in her assessment of Father's character. He does not have the determination required to properly see things through until the end, not even murder. I suppose I should congratulate him for trying, though. He really did try. It hurt horribly. I open my mouth once more, but I don't know what to say. How can I reply to that? What must it have felt like being betrayed so deeply by your own dad? I don't know, because I don't have a dad of my own. Of course, this isn't true in the strictest sense of the word. I'm not a product of divine conception, and a human man did have a hand in my existence. I don't feel like I have a dad, though. Mum never talks about him, and I never thought to ask. I know Mum doesn't like thinking about Saul Andrews, or that git, as she calls him when she is in a terrible mood. She calls him far worse when she is not, and I don't like thinking about him either. At any rate, I don't have much to think about. I've never met him before, and I've only seen his face in photographs. Mum threw most of the memorabilia of her 7 months spent with Saul Andrews away. I can't say I blame her, given how he reacted to the news of my mum's pregnancy. Apparently he tried to coerce her into having an abortion, and when that didn't work he turned tail and fled, didn't even leave a note. What a git. I always thought I should hate Saul, but I don't even know him enough for that. Instead, all I feel is an absence of feeling, really. Apathy. Now I can't help but wonder who has it worse, even though I know making such comparisons is fundamentally unfair. Is it Emmeline, whose dad loved her dearly, to such an extent that it wrung life right out of her lungs? Or is it me, whose dad cared so little for my existence he didn't even stick around to see me being born, and hasn't made a single attempt in the last 14 years to contact me? They're both bad in their own ways, and if my mum had bowed to Saul Andrews' wishes, I would be dead too. The fact remains, however, that I am not. Emmeline, meanwhile, is. Do you resent him? I do not know. I have had lots of time to think about it, but I still can't come to a decision. Trying to describe it with mere words would seem inadequate somehow, but I am upset. I wish it had never happened. I know Father thought he had to do it, and I am sure it took him a good deal of thought before he was even able to consider killing me and my mother. He was not a violent person. I know it might sound cliché, but he did not even like killing moths or spiders, and yet a person like him, spineless, Grandmother Patience said, was still able to murder his wife and child, then slit his own throat. Our financial situation must have been bad if he thought it was the only way he could save us. I don't profess to fully understand it myself, but there must have been a reason behind his actions. Men, not even the most hot-headed men, do not murder their wives and daughters on sudden whims or whispers from fairies. He must have been in a difficult position, so perhaps I feel some sympathy, but at the same time, it just isn't fair. He never even asked me what I wanted, and I certainly did not want to die. I wanted to stay alive. There were so many more things I wanted to do. I don't know what the things I wanted to do, not exactly, but I was young, and I had a whole lifetime ahead of me. I thought I could think about it later. I thought I would have enough time. But I was naive. I just wanted to spend more time with Cornelia. Even though I was young, and I did not understand a great deal about the world around me, I know that I loved her. I loved her with all my heart. And then my father killed me, and was the end of that. At least it should have been. I should have stopped loving her the moment my heart stopped beating, but evidently it did not pan out like that. And Do you know what happened to Cornelia? Bits and pieces. She was upset after I died, I think. She cried a lot, then she grew older and was eventually able to put what happened behind her. She'll be dead now. She must have been dead for a century or so. Emmeline smiles bitterly. Almost as long as me. You didn't see her? I tried to talk to her, but she could not see me. I hung around her for a little while, but it all felt so pointless. I could see her face, but I could not dry her tears. I wanted to tell her I was all right. I was right there, as all right as a dead girl can be anyway, but it was all in vain. There was nothing I could do. In the end, I decided to cut my losses and leave her alone. Following Cornelia did not make her happy, and it certainly did not make me happy. It just made me feel even more alone. I have not left this graveyard in almost a century. There was no reason to leave. I just stayed right here by my grave and slept. A century might seem like a long time, but it slipped by rather quickly. Nobody could see me, and so nobody bothered me. At least until today. You are the first person I have met during the last 150 years who can see me. It is most peculiar. Well, I'm quite a peculiar person. I have always liked graveyards. Ah, yes, you told me that earlier. I remembered. You don't think I'm weird, do you? I know the other girls at my school do, but it would rather be depressing if a being as improbable as the ghost of a 19th century girl thought I was weird too. Perhaps a little, but I am rather happy about it. If you were not weird, as you termed it, you might not be able to see me, and we would not be able to have this refreshing conversation. It might not be because of me, though. Refreshing conversation, though? Refreshing? Maybe not the word I would have used. What do you mean? You are regarding me with your own two eyes, correct? You have not stolen anybody else's, have you? No, of course not. If I had taken somebody's eyes, where would I be storing my own? The thought is so macabre, it makes me shudder. My eyes belong to me and only me. Well, that is a relief. I may be dead already, but one cannot be too careful. Though this girl just spoke of a rather tragic story, one pertaining to her no less, there's a light smile flitting about her lips. She really does like teasing people, doesn't she? It must be a bad habit, one she has been unable to indulge in this last century or so. I am able to exist only because of the people who have come before me. Maybe these eyes were a gift from Rose Bradford. Rose? She's one of my ancestors. Apparently she was a medium. That's what my mother says anyway. Yet, if these eyes are a gift from Rose Bradford, the self-proclaimed White Witch of Beverly, they haven't been of much use until now. I've certainly never seen a ghost before, despite the number of graveyards I've visited. I have, however, always been strangely adept at the art of finding dead bodies, even when buried beneath the earth. Does this mean something? Anything? Maybe the world is crawling with ghosts, thicker than the fog that creeps around the ground, and they simply never wanted to make my humble acquaintance. Perhaps they were hiding from me, sitting among the branches, or peeking out from behind the stained-glass church windows, whispering amongst themselves. Why would they approach me for help anyway? I'm only a young girl, only 14. But Emmeline did. Was there a reason for that? Now that I think about it. The her you said that I resembled. Oh, yes, well, you really do look like Cornelia. It took me quite by surprise. For a few moments I thought you might really be her, but that was folly, of course. You are not Cornelia. You are your own person, Verity. No, my name isn't Verity. We both know that, and I don't know if I am my own person either. How could I be, given my hastily sewn-together name? Toma, the diminutive from Thomas, picked because my real name was stolen 2 weeks before I was born. Andrews, a last name given to me by my dad, not as a gift but as an afterthought, like a balled-up pair of socks for Christmas. My name was defined by men I'd never met. A dead grandfather, an absent father. They don't belong to me. Nothing belongs to me. Even this name bestowed upon me by Emmeline isn't mine, it's hers. It's something she invented. What does belong to me, then? Who am I, really? At the moment, I am nothing more than a composite of old names, long-lost ancestors, Bradfords and Bowers and Kendalls and Lintons and... Wait a minute. Linton? Emmeline, can I ask you a question? Of course, I welcome any and all questions. I haven't had much of a chance to converse with others in the last 150 years. I swallow. My lips feel cracked and dry, my fingers twitching by my sides. Cornelia's last name, what was it? Why, it was Linton. It has been such a long time since I last saw her, but I would never forget that. Linton, was it? Cornelia Linton. It could just be a coincidence, of course, but I don't know if I believe in coincidences, not after everything that has happened to me today. That was the reason why Emmeline approached me to begin with. She thought I was Cornelia Linton. Maybe in a sense I am, or at least a small part of me. And it is with that sudden realization that I feel a light dawn upon me. It is not a real light that one can see in their own eyes. The sun remains firmly stubbornly hidden behind the clouds, but it is a light nonetheless. It is a sudden understanding. Whoa. A whole wealth of memories, a treasure chest of moments shared by the Lintons lake, of girlish laughter and raspberry lemonade, and kisses that taste of carbonation, that I should have no knowledge of. These scenes should be sepia-tainted, like old photographs found in the back of a charity store from years gone well and truly by. At any rate, I've never been kissed before. How would I know what that feels like? But I can imagine it. In fact, I don't need to imagine it. I don't need to imagine it because it really did happen. Not the current me standing here right now, but to one of my relatives, in another time, in a place not so very far away. Cornelia? Emmeline stares at me, or is it really me? With wide eyes, lashes trembling, hardly daring to believe. I can't entirely believe it either. My body is still mine, yet at the same time it is not. I can sense another presence residing inside me, blown in by the cold autumn breeze. It lingers, hazy and ephemeral, shy to make itself known, yet desperate to speak nonetheless. And we will find out what it has to say in the next episode. So, thank you for watching. Sadly, I was not surprised by the killing thing, but this is kind of interesting. I did not expect Toma to be possessed by the ghost of her ancestor. So, hopefully, they have some interesting... I don't know what I'm trying to say. I'm looking forward to seeing what they have to say to Emmeline and what Emmeline has to say back to Cornelia. So look forward to it. Thank you for watching. I love you. Bye-bye.